Today we are talking about integer multiplication. So the definition of multiplication is to have a bunch of groups of the same size and count the total number of things in the group. So first we're going to start with our problem, 2,893 times 124. So our first step is to multiply the 4 by the 2,893. So 4 times 3 is 12, carry the 1, bring the 2 down. 4 times 9 is 36, plus 1 is 37. Bring the 7 down, carry the 3. 8 times 4 is 32, plus 3 is 35. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11. Next, we're going to put a 0 down underneath the 2. So in the first row, we are multiplying by 1, or the number of singles, and in the second row, with this 2, we are going to be multiplying by 10, or the number of rods, so 2 groups of 10. So we'd be multiplying by 20 now, which is why you can put a 0 in the ones place, because the units are changing. So this picture is 10 groups of 2,893. So if we count down through the singles, we know that there are 10 singles in each group, and we can bring each group of 10 right here over to make 3 rods. Now, there are no singles left, which is why we can put a 0 down in the singles place. So each of these rods represents 10 groups of 9. Now, we can count up all these rods, and we would know that there are 10 groups of 9. So we can move all 9 groups of these rods and move them over to make 9 flats. Now, we carried the rods over here from the singles place, and there are 3 remaining, which is why we can put a 3 in the rods place. Now, we have 10 groups of 8, because each of these, we have 10 groups of 8, and each of these can be moved over to make a supercube or a supergroup. So, we can move these over to make 8 supercubes. Now that we have 8 supercubes over here, we have 9 flats left over, which is why we can put a 9 down where the flats are. Now we have 8 supergroups, so we can put an 8 in the supergroup column, and we still have 2 supercubes left over. Now, this picture shows why we can put a 0 in the singles column, because we have 0 singles left over when we do the multiplication problem in the first row. Now we can finish up our multiplication problem. We'll start off doing 2 times 3, which is 6, 9 times 2, which is 18, carry the 1, bring the 8 down. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 1 is 17, carry the 1, bring the 7 down. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Now we'll finish off the rest of our problem. Now, in the third row, we have 100, which is why we can have 2 zeros down here, because there are 2 zeros in 100. So 3 times 1 is 3, 9 times 1 is 9, 8 times 1 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. Now we'll add all of these up. So To see this more clearly, we can move over to our picture. So first here, we multiply 2,893 by the one in the ones place, so we can see here that the singles place is a 4, so we have 4 groups of 2,893 drawn out right here. We have 4 groups of 2 supercubes, 8 flats, 9 rods, and 3 singles. So if we were to add all of these up, we would get 11,572, which is what we got right here in our problem. Now, we have 10 groups of 2 groups of 2,893 drawn out right here. That's because we multiplied by a 2 over at the problem, and we have a 2 in the tens place, which would be 20. So if you write it out 10 times and add it all up, we would get 57,860, which is exactly what we got right over here in our problem. Our last step is having 100 groups of 1 of 2,893. So we would write out the groups if I had more room, so you can imagine that this is 100 groups of 1 group of 2,893. If you write them all up, or write them out and add them all up, you would get 289,300. And that's exactly what we got over here. So our final step would be to add up 11,572, 57,860, and 289,300, which would be what we got here, here, and here. So our final answer would be 358,732.